Weird science
is the revolution.
Green Lantern War Journal number 7, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson with art by Montos, Adriana Lucas, and Dave Sharp. So yeah, this was a series that I was really enjoying in the beginning, and then it just took a turn. I feel like as soon as we put Jon Stewart back into a ring and made him basic bitch Jon Stewart again, even though he should still have the power, it's a different kind of ring, but once you put him back in the ring, I feel like the story took a weird turn, and in the previous issue, we had the Revenant Queen grab a hold of Jon Stewart and suck him away to what we believe to be her dimension, and for some reason, it's a Dark Star ring that it looks like we've been imprisoned in with Jon Stewart and a bunch of other people who are stuck inside this. And it's Jon Stewart floating around in this negative space, this just void space place. And I'm telling you, it might as well be the fucking Phantom Zone for what's going on in this whole thing. And it's just Jon trying to get a grasp on what's going on. And I don't know if he got a grasp on what's going on, because I fucking didn't get a grasp on what's going on in this goddamn book.
Eric, I'm going to get mad now, because while you didn't like him getting a ring back, if people have been listening, which I hope they have, and you have, I hope, Eric, the idea, well, you know, when we're talking, you would know that once he got, like, it started to get dumbed down. I actually admit it. I said, I'm a dummy. A lot of the stuff that it was dealing with were stuff Mosaic, even Jeffrey Thorne stuff that I couldn't tell you hide or hair about. Me and you did them, but it was mainly you understanding it and me confused the whole time. So I wondered, why are we doing this? I say all the time, I give Philip Kennedy Johnson credit. He does honor whatever came before, tries to make it work, whatnot. But this book was not selling. It was a book that was hard to recommend. It was very confusing, but it was dealing with the stuff that came before. Then all of a sudden it seemed, okay, wait a minute. We're dumbing it down for Jimmy Boy here. All right. Like, this is cool. He gets a ring. All right. I can, see that. And then we get to this issue. I'm like, you're doing shit again. Like, you're now pulling it away to get into this Dark Star ring type deal, Revenant Queen, and nothing makes sense. And when you have this issue, and this is what I'm talking about when I said, hey, these issues, I'm not getting, oh man, I got to keep reading this. The only thing that I said, it's so weird, is Ellie, the Construct's sister. That's the only thing I think is interesting. And why is that? How could you end up having a book that you have such a side issue deal of, hey, I want this Construct Ellie sister to watch after my mom, to be the thing that I want the whole thing about, because the Jon Stewart stuff is confusing, boring, and nonsense.
Like, when we bring in the stuff from War World, it seemed like with the fire of Orgrim, I forget what it is, if it's Orgrim, but I always get it mixed up with the people from Detective Comics, with what his name was, but one of the first world gods. The whole thing that we had in War World, we started tying it in here because Philip Kennedy Johnson wanted to continue a story from War World in this, and I swear to God, when Jon is in his Dark Star void space, learning about what's going on from this guy whose name is, let me see, I wrote this down here, and when I started talking about it without having a, Bilovox, and I swear to God, this is going to be a Philosian of this universe. This is going to be a Philosian character, Bilovox, because I actually even went to go look if he was one of those guys from War World, because I'm like, this seems like a familiar name to me. But it's pretty much Jon Stewart in this void saying, I don't recognize these star systems. Where am I? Hey, Ring, where am I? Not recognize star systems.
Do not know.
Hey, there's a dark star symbol in the sky. It's a gateway. I'm going to fly to it. I'm like, Bilovox, like, I wouldn't do that. It's got like a gravity well. It keeps people out. I'm going to fly to it anyway. Oh my God, the gravity pushed me back. It's got a gravity well.
Yeah, that was the best.
We have a whole place that's full of asteroids and people on these asteroids and tribes and on villages and stuff like that. Warrior races, it seems like. But it seems like the main point of this Dark Star place, besides from being a prison, is every now and again it looks like an army of ghosts show up, radiant dead, and you have to fight them off. And that's where we end the issue with Jon Stewart, Bilovox, and all the freaking savages of the Dark Star realm.
It's like, the zombie fight in like Call of Duty, like that side deal that they used to have. I don't know if they still do. I don't.
The best part, yeah, they do.
But again, that's what it reminds. Like, it's not. It's just supposed to be. But this isn't fun. And so in this, like, this is the thing in this book here. If I was buying the book, I actually would continue because I want to see what's up with Ellie. That's it, though. The Jon Stewart stuff, I'm like, I don't want to read this anymore. I actually, like, usually we'll get mad at the book and oh my God, this is the worst. Like, I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, why? Now it's not. You don't have the verbiage, but this stuff here is, to me, as annoying as Spurrier's Flash, where you're just throwing us at it, and it feels so much like that. But at least there's not a million metaphors, but that's the only thing missing from it. It's confusing, and in a book that doesn't seem to be grabbing a lot of readers, you can't go back to this shit again and lose more people, because that's what it seems to be doing.
Well, and the worst part, too, with the idea where I say this this radiant dead ghost army, whatever shows up through the Dark Star Void. And Biolevok's like, this place is a battle line that must hold for the sake of the universe, and if you fail, everything fails. Like the universe falls and stuff like that, all fail. So all I think was reminding me of that Tom King Batman story with the Gentleman, and he had to hold the line against those forces of evil in the other dimension so they don't break free.
This is reminding of some bad stuff, right?
And I'm like, I don't need this. But you know what? The thing is, all bullshit as far as I'm concerned, because I didn't care about it, did nothing for John Stewart or the story as far as...
And but before we go to Ellie, I just want to mention the one thing, too. When I went into this issue, a lot of people, you were even, except the stuff that Jeremy Adams finally ended up doing in the Green Lantern book, and I'm telling you, I think that a lot of people who are reading Green Lantern might still be reading this. You see this idea of, okay, Earth Lanterns, and you're doing this, and they're going to rebel. You kind of think maybe, hopefully we get to this and see that little bit of a sliver of, oh shit, John's going to end up doing stuff, it's going to combine it all. And you actually pull it more away. You go into this nonsense with these ghosts and the Revenant. Oh, the Revenant Queen, you said. Also, I want to give a big F you to I actually like Phil. I think Philip Kennedy Johnson seems like a really nice guy. And he ends up being like, even to people who end up saying, but like he'll explain things, whatnot. But when he starts out by these assholes talking this weird language, and I thought it was backwards, if I'm trying so hard, and I'm like reading it, I'm like, is that bad? No, it's that. I'm like, oh, God damn it, it's nothing. I got so angry. I'm like, yeah. But any time now, I'm like, is this backwards? Is this? It's nothing. It means nothing. And then I got mad, but the Ellie stuff. You go with that because it's great.
I was looking forward to this issue because even the Revenant Queen was talking about the previous John Stewart of her universe and how she took over the host body of Kat Matui, his wife. And I'm like, are we going to learn more about this? They're like, is it going to be a huge reveal for this issue? And we get to this, it's so disappointing. But going to Ellie, the idea that the construct that John left behind to watch after his mother has dementia right now, they're still inside the Steelworks building, and she has created a Green Lantern construct of John Stewart's mother's house, and it's just her, pretty much playing games and trying to keep her happy. And when Steel comes a knocking, saying like, hey, we're not really too sure if you're doing the best thing up here, that construct gets angry looking. You start to get worried. I'm like, how is this the better story right now?
So much
where John
better.
Stewart is not even involved.
Because it's easy to understand, right?
You have the heroes of, you have Lantern Shepard, Natasha, and John Henry Irons here, all worried about what's going on here. And this is the most important thing in the book. Like, I want to know what this story is. Can we just please, John Stewart, sorry, everybody. I don't know if you know this, but John Stewart has lost to space and time, and this is what we're dealing with from now on. We're just dealing with John Henry Irons, Lantern Shepard, and Natasha Irons here. And that's all you need to worry about, right?
And yeah, so you get this, and I think that they play it great. Again, how much I was mad at Phil Kennedy Johnson with that stupid language not when you do this, because I forgot that they were, the way that they play it with the art and the way that, I forgot they were actually in Steelworks, and you kind of are led to that.
I thought they went home.
Yeah, that they're in the house. Everything's fine. It starts to get a little evil, but the idea of, oh, I got to make that roast. I got to put it in.
It's dinner time.
Not yet. Mama. And Ellie ends up making the clock turn backwards and change. And then, oh, look at that. And
you're right.
Again,
look at that.
Somebody who has dementia, it's kind of, but also, is Ellie going to keep wanting to play to the point where the mom starves? Like, there's a lot of crazy shit that you can think of here. Or is Ellie, because she does seem upset at not playing, but Mama's happy when they're playing, so she wants her to be happy. Not what, like, there's so many levels in that, but when the door goes, oh, Mama, I'll go get it. And when she opens that, and then you see it's a construct, and then you realize, oh, shit, yeah, they're in Steelworks. This is fucked up. And she's like, oh, hello. I'm like, oh, here we go. And I love that.
Well, she starts talking to Steel and gets up, starts levitating and get face to face. Like, I'm as much John Stewart as Ellie and a child of Oa as well. And goes on to say, like, thank you for your concern for our mama, but these are family decisions, and as grateful as my brother is for your help, you're not family. And then slams the door in their faces. I'm like, well, shit. And the thing is, maybe I wouldn't trust either, because for the way they draw John Henry Irons in the suit here, he looks like a mean Lex Luthor.
Yeah, he does. And though, again, you have sassy Ellie, who it's weird. I love. I know she's going to be bad. Or is she? You could twist this and turn it a different way. And the way that you go back and forth, somebody actually brought this up when we had a review of one of the past issues, the idea of John Stewart making the construct of a sister because he wanted his mom to be happy in these last deals. She had dementia. She doesn't remember. And one person did say, and wasn't being mean about it. This was not a fight, saying that when you do actually have a parent, grandparent, whatnot with dementia, you do have the struggle of what do? Do you try to make a alternate reality where if they say, oh, where's Ellie? And, oh, Ellie's out getting... or do you tell them the truth? And this is what John says. He says, you can't do this. You can't make up this false deal. And that is kind of a debate with a lot of things. So when this came up, I'm like, he's doing it really well. But the idea of this, too, is John said to a construct, protect, my mom, protect, our mom. And so that ends up making it like we thought it was going to be more of a protect Summer type of thing.
Yeah, from Rick and Morty.
But the thing also, I'm telling you, the layers in this, beyond what we get and what should be the most important part, the idea that if Ellie does tell the truth, if they end up, there's no more Ellie, because that's part of the kind of the ruse to make her feel good. So when Jon Stewart's like, you can't do this, it's basically saying you shouldn't exist. You have to go. You can't just pretend this. And she says, I'm a Jon Stewart, Ellie, child of Oa. I'm all that, so you get the fuck out. And when she levitates up to be eye level with him, I'm like, that's one of the most badass things I've seen in
not only that,
time.
though,
I'm like, holy crap, look at that.
We have this badass moment, but the idea that Lantern Shepherd, he needs some help, and not from these United Federation of Atlanta, so he's going to go find Guy Gardner from help, someone that John trusts. And while he does this, you also see a swarm of what I have to assume is like radiant dead, like bugs and energy that come together to see Jon Stewart's sister and mother inside Steelworks, like, all your love shall be undone. So you have some really crazy dark stuff. I'm sorry, the swarm comes together into like a shadow monster.
This part with Ellie, and I'll also give props because there's, Philip Kennedy Johnson, when most of the books, we even make a joke of this. The idea, I do, Eric, you yell at me, but the idea where Guy, he's a jerk, he's handsy, he ends up this, he beats it. And in this, it's like, I got to go find, and actually gets, finally, in the past year or so, somebody gets the idea of there's Guy. He's a goofball. He is kind of rough around the edges, but when all comes down, we both of us know from reading other things, and everybody probably listening, that he is a guy, that he's a guy that John trusts more than anyone. Because you know why? I think because Guy doesn't bullshit you. He tells you, even if it's the bad thing to say, he'll say it. I think John always does respect it. They always end up at first getting thrown together at points, but they have gone through so much, and Guy would do anything for John. He has to go find him. Now, does this tie in where that's like I said, I wanted to have things tie in more with Jeremy Adams, but in that, the backup where Guy's out supposedly trying to track down Lobo, that I said would be a ruse anyway, in the way things it might be. But is he going to go help him? Is he going to get him? And I'm excited about that. So what I want out of this book now is, screw this Jon Stewart and the ring nonsense. I want more Ellie, and I want Guy Gardner with Shepherd. Yeah.
Jon Stewart was lost to time and space. We'll never see him again.
Or just like basically it's Poochie.
Yeah, so I thought of too.
On the way to the dark stairs.
Returning to his home planet. Oh, he was an alien? Yeah,
or you need next issue to just be like, oh, what? Guy Gardner does something wacky that brings John back, and they're just doing their thing separate, because I want Ellie stuff to continue too. And the thing I'm going to be sad is if we do, and we will lose Ellie eventually, I'm like, kind of wouldn't mind you. Like, looks a little like Teen Lantern. Get that gauntlet on. She could be a lantern, right? Be cool there. Children of Oa. We could have a new book. I really like Ellie.
That'd be terrible.
I really like Ellie, though. I think Ellie's like a breakout character that we never knew would happen. It's so and I think she's a villain by the end, right?
Exactly. It's the thing is, I don't want to see her continue, because she's going to be turned bad. Just like the idea when Kyle left Oblivion, the lone construct who turned into Oblivion. Shit ends bad this way.
But the twist could be that she's doing, because you get that whole thing with that Revenant evil goes. They might have to be invited into the construct house, Eric. It's like a vampire rules, because they go up, like they could just go in and rip them apart and ruin, but they're just looking. Now you can say because they want to be evil and do these things or whatnot, but you might find out at the end, like, no, Ellie was like pretty much, she can't stop this because she knows this construct house, what's going on is the only thing that will save them from the thing. She saw the Dark Star in the sky and ended up saying, like, I don't think John's going to be coming back soon. This might end up turning out to be, oh my God, and maybe get her turning the clock, but she's a little kid, right? A child of Oa. I really like
it. The construct house, and even Ellie being a construct, I think is the best safe haven for his mother at this point, because it seems like the Radiant Dead do need a host to attack, and she's not real.
Yeah,
and neither is the house, so you can't do anything about that. Usually at the end,
what you're going to play is, I do think that she really does care. She's part of John, and when John comes back, it's really going to tear him apart, and it might make me cry. I'll admit it. That if he is like, I don't want to let you go, but I have to, and then you have, like, why me? And then have her then pissed off, like there's a glimmer of her left there. And then she comes back for revenge. But I really like her. I really do. The Jon Stewart stuff, I think it's suck it. I didn't even understand it. And usually you're here to hold my hand. And it was so nuts.
Well, that's the thing is, I can tell you what happened in the issue, but I can't tell you because it's still a mystery about what's going on in the main book about it, so I can't even give you any context of this.
You know how I could explain it to people, what I hate about this thing, and it goes right back to Cy Spurrier's Flash? When you're talking about it and you read it, you can't possibly sit there and say, oh man, I hope this happens, or man, I hope this person there does that to help that. We don't. It's what happens. This is what drives me the most of the Flash, where I can't even sit here and say to you, like, man, wouldn't it be cool if this and that happened? Because I don't even know what the hell's going on the page, and that's what happened here. It threw me off, and when kind of took like
wouldn't it be cool if it was doing something different?
Wouldn't it be cool if we got more Ellie? That's all I was saying. And then by the end, I'm like, what I thought was it was dumbing it down to, appeal to, because I'm thinking myself, I'm more of the wider audience. I'm not a huge, lure guy of the Green Lantern. We saw when we talked about the Jeremy Adams deal. You still enjoyed it, but you still had that little baggage of this didn't make sense. Yeah. But I'm not that. I'm kind of a clean slate with this stuff. And I figure if I understand it, then anybody does, because I'm a dummy. And now I'm right back to not. I was starting to think I was understanding it. I was thought, okay, this is going in the direction I like. You didn't because of the ring, but still it felt like, and now we're right back. I just don't get it. And then he just has a ring anyway. And then I'm like, I don't know what's happening here. Don't know what's happening. But what would you give it?
5.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm just a regular. I'm a 5, and I'm telling you, I think people will know, but I love that Ellie stuff, so I can't tell you how much I loved it and wanted more. And when we were talking, and I usually read stuff a little ahead of time now, and when me and you go to do the spotlight and things like that, I'll usually, at the end, we'll talk. But even before, I'm like, oh, you got to do that. You got to read this. You got to read this. So I'm like, oh, wait, do you read that? Like, that was one of the biggest things of this week for me is, you got to read Ellie. It's like a Twilight Zone deal. It's so cool.
She's going to send you to the cornfield.
She is. You see that? Yeah. And even then, when she sends it, I really wanted more of a reaction from Natasha and John of like, man, this is fucked up. They kind of just like, oh, well, what are you going to do, Lantern Shepherd? Like, I think I'd have more of a reaction. Like, this is fucked up. This is weird. All of a sudden, you see that place that they're in, that hangar, that John, like, disconnects it from his thing and sends it off somewhere. He doesn't want this anywhere near him anymore.
Because that's the thing, too. We think about it as a construct. And it is, but, like, not even just a normal Green Lantern construct, because it's the power that John has from the Godstorm and his natural given gifts to be a new god. So there's more power to this than just normal Green Lantern constructs. And even the idea where John would want to take his company back from these people he invited in, that could be amazing, because that struggle. He could even destroy all Steelworks trying to take that thing down.
Remember at the beginning that I didn't get this feel, but then you said that the idea when we had Beast World, and I'm like, oh, that tentacle, they're going to... At this point, she does say, I'm as much Jon Stewart as Ellie. Is there going to be something that he gets, like, dead, and then they're able to pull it? I don't know. But the idea that she says that I'm as much Jon Stewart as Ellie and a child of Oa, that seems like it might be something that plays out down the line with John and maybe how to save him out of the predicament he's in, possibly. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I like Ellie. Ellie's a breakout character.
Weird science is the revolution.